Their tone gets lower and they pull you to the side because they don't want people to hear what they're saying to you. And she pulled me aside. It was early in the morning because we hadn't yet done our show. And she said, "Wacha nikuulize, kwa nini umekataa kupata watoto?" She asked me this question. I had actually just had my miscarriage. And I remember looking at her, feeling triggered, feeling upset, but wondering what the appropriate thing to say to her was. I want to share a special message with you. First of all, I want to apologize to you, Kambua. In 2019, I wrote a very insensitive comment on your IG page under a pseudonym. Forgive me. After listening to your story, I have realized I didn't have the right to type what I typed. I was wrong. You have made me truly understand that both the pregnancy journey and children are very, very, very precious. So this is a message that I got just the other day when we began being Kambua. And I want to say to the person who wrote this message, I forgive you completely and with my whole heart. But I want to have a conversation on these kinds of comments because, as many of you know, I experienced a very intense level of cyberbullying because of my inability at the time to have children. It felt like every moment that I woke up, it was either comments on my IG page, on my Facebook, it was a tweet, I was surrounded, it was everywhere. It felt like noise that was there constantly and I couldn't get away from it. And you know how you can put a picture, say on Facebook, wishing people a great day, and then somebody comes on there and writes, "Utazaa lini," and then before you know it, it's 90 comments under that one comment having a discussion about why you are, as I was called many times, barren. I remember times on Twitter where I decided I was not gonna log on because for sure was going to stumble upon somebody saying words that were not kind to me. All sorts of suggestions were made that I had probably aborted at some point in my life, or I had been on contraceptives that had prevented me from being able to have children. I heard comments about how I probably did it intentionally because I wanted to maintain my body and I wanted to have a good time. It was different kinds of comments coming from people that I didn't know. Some of them from pseudo accounts, others from people who felt brave and that they had nothing to lose, then wake up and insult me. I share this with you because this conversation is so important because it didn't just happen on social media. There are times when I met people, I'd bump into people, and I had gotten to a place where I believe I had a level of social anxiety, where because I'd be sure that if I go for a wedding or a birthday party or a bridal shower or a baby shower, whatever it is, there's probably going to be someone who feels that this is their opportunity to ask me why I do not have children. I remember one day, we went for a mission. At the time, I was working with Kubamba. So we went for a mission all the way in Makueni, deep huko ndani. And, we met the staff, we met the students. And then this teacher pulls me aside. And she said, I have to tell you, there's a way that people pull you aside when they're about to hurt your feelings. And I think you know what I mean. There's a way that their tone gets lower and they pull you to the side because they don't want people to hear what they're saying to you. And she pulled me aside. It was early in the morning because we hadn't yet done our show. And she said, "Wacha nikuulize, kwa nini umekataa kupata watoto?" She asked me this question. I had actually just had my miscarriage. And I remember looking at her, feeling triggered, feeling upset, but wondering what the appropriate thing to say to her was. And I asked her, watoto wanatoka kwa nani? Where do children come from? And she said, wanatoka kwa Mungu. And I said, correct. So if children come from God, then why are you asking me? Why don't you ask God? And she, she recoiled a little bit, tried to wiggle her way out of it. I was just asking because, I was just wondering. I said, pick it up with God. And I went on to do my show and had a really good time. And as we were leaving, as our bus was leaving, I remember her stopping the vehicle and asking to speak to me. So I came out and she said, I wanted to apologize to you because I realized I should not have asked you that question. And I said, I accept your apology. And yes, you should not have asked me that question. And you should never ask another woman that question because it is very hurtful and it is inappropriate. I had to learn to speak for myself because there are many instances like those where I was cornered, I was by myself. I had nobody to, my community, I have a community of sisters who were like my firing squad. They were always ready to fight. And they fought many, many battles on my behalf. But there are times when I would be ambushed by myself and I had to learn to speak for myself. I remember one time I had gone to the mall I think it was Lavington Mall. I'd gone to do some shopping. So as I'm walking around, this woman comes over to say hi. Now, usually when people stop me to say hello, I'll be courteous, I'll stop, I'll say hello. I'm not sure if we've met before or do you like my music? So I stopped, I gave her an audience and I quickly realized that maybe I should not have stopped because she pulled me aside and she said, I know that you've been unable to have children, and I know a pastor it was either Kayole or Rumoja, she mentioned somewhere. She said, I know a pastor who can pray for you. Everybody who goes to see this pastor lives with a child. This pastor has so many testimonies. I just need to take you. We can, dress you down, go in a disguise, whatever, but you have to go see this pastor because this problem needs to end. And I sat there feeling so dressed down because, first of all, she's a stranger. Second, I have not come to her and asked her for her help. And it just felt like so many boundaries had been crossed in that moment. So I managed to get my way out of it. I, told her I had to go, I was busy, blah, 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 and I left. But there were so many of those instances where I'd be left thinking, should I have said something different? Should I have said, no, thank you, but no thank you? What do you say in the face of people literally it felt like people bullying you to your face? What do you say? For the many words that were spoken behind closed doors, because sometimes it would be people telling me, we were at this whoever's house and your name came up and people were talking and, they were wondering, it's been so long. And those would hurt equally as much. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life, my family, my friends who heard those things, shut them down where they were and never even told me that those conversations happened because they realized how painful it was. So for every one of those words that was said with an intention to undignify me, for every one of those words that was said with the intention to hurt me, it worked. It really worked. I was hurt in a way that I cannot fully express to you. And especially because it was over something I could not control, I could not change. I did not have in my power to change. Cyberbullying is such a big thing. I have seen people completely give up, lose their passion on things, on life because of cyberbullying. I have seen people completely leave social media because they cannot take it. I'm grateful that God gave me enough grace to sometimes take the fire, sometimes withdraw, come back. And it felt like a dance for me, withdrawing, coming back. And, sometimes I came back because I knew I had a few solid people who would always speak for me. I also need to say that over the times when there was a lot of that negativity, a good percentage of those conversations were actually propagated by women like me. And it made me wonder why we do that to each other. Why, as women, instead of rallying around each other, instead of protecting each other and creating safety nets for each other, we are the first ones to tear one another down. Some of the people who have asked in the past, why can't Kambua have children, are people who had also had their own struggles with infertility. But because people did not know about it, they felt that they were now in a place to ask such questions about me. It wasn't only the women, there were men. There were men who did that as well. But in the same way, there were men who stood up for me. I have friends who I actually made solid people who to this day I can call or they can call me. People who my name would come up and they would fight, and we had never met in person. I respect those people. I respect people who stand up against something because it's wrong, not because they know you or they love you. If it's wrong, it's wrong. So I want to tell you to be responsible with the things that you say to people, whether you're saying it behind closed doors, saying it to their face, using a pseudo account. And here's the thing about cyberbullying. Sometimes it's not even a lot of people who are driving a narrative. It could be Kambua who has opened 10 accounts and so who's opened another 5 accounts. And it sounds like the world is against you. And the damage that it does to a person's mental health and emotion is so great, it's not worth it. Choose not to be a bully. Choose to mind your business. Choose to be gracious and kind. Choose to walk away when a conversation doesn't concern you. You don't have to have an opinion on everything, and especially situations that you do not understand. Hold your words. I am a believer. I speak about that very loudly and boldly. I'm a believer and a follower of Jesus Christ. And scripture says that we shall be accountable for every idle word. And those are the idle words, the ones that we throw to people, the ones that, I know that the conversations I'm having here heavily involve women, but I will also bring on board men to give you their perspective on what it feels like as a couple to struggle through the journey of infertility and the kinds of things that get said to them. I have had men write to me in my inbox because they're not able to write a lot of those things on my posts like fellow ladies are able to. And they've told me things like, I remember this one guy telling me he had asked to take time off from work because they'd had an intense year and he just wanted to take a holiday. And he went to his boss and asked for time off. And his boss said, why do you need time off? And you've been unable to have children. You don't have children to take care of, so you don't need time off. I've had men who've told me how their fellow men ask them why they shoot blanks. Hurtful words that break people down because we say them in jest. We think we're just joking. We think it's funny. But you don't know the effect it has on somebody, on a couple. There are couples that have broken up because of words spoken by people, by their families, by their friends, by their communities. So instead of creating more pain, because imagine that my reality every day was adjusting to probably or possibly the fact that I may never have children. So carrying that burden and then stepping out into the world and feeling like I have to fight. I'm grateful that I used to come home to a safety net. There was a safety net provided by my family, but there are people who don't have that safety net. So they're out in the world and they're fighting. They're fighting in the office. They're fighting in schools, and then they come home and they're still being fought over the same things. I know of a woman who was kicked out by her in-laws. She was asked, and the language that is used, especially to women or men, to people who are struggling with infertility, is oftentimes so crude because the intention is to undignify you. So I remember a woman who shared in one of our communities how her father-in-law asked her, ulikuja kwangu kujaza choo tu, ulikuja kujaza choo huku kwetu. That's all you came here to do. It's crude, it's uncalled for. And I feel that we can do better. We can be better people. We can humanize and dignify one another. We can bear each other's burden. How about you be the friend who holds space for that person, who asks them, what can I do for you? How can we help you? Is it an IVF procedure? What can we do? Do you want us to help you raise money? How about you ask your friend, have you had somebody check you out? Can I take you? How about you ask your friend, can I pray with you? Is there something you want me to do for you? Because the person walking that journey oftentimes they know exactly what it is that they need or they would need from you. I know many baby showers that I said no to. Well, I didn't say, no, I'm not coming because I don't have a baby. I found ways out of it, but because it almost felt like the pain was glaring at me in those situations. I'm not saying that we should walk on eggshells around each other, around people who are struggling. I'm just saying, let's be sensitive to their journey and to the pain that they are carrying. And I also want to say that as I share this, I don't share from a place of pain or a place of unforgiveness, because I realize that when I hold on to the unforgiveness and the pain and what the words did to me, it was so retrogressive. It was counterproductive. And I needed to move forward. I needed to make strides in my life. I needed to, as I told you, find my joy, find my strength, find my peace, discover who Kambua is. I needed to be fully aware that motherhood is a great calling, but it's not the only calling. And so to find even in that space where I could find my fulfillment in the things that God has called me to beyond motherhood. So I'm speaking this not from a place of pain, but from a place of healing and a place of forgiveness. I have forgiven, I have released. And again, thank you to this is not the first time that somebody has written to me and said, forgive me for what I said. And the thing is, I don't even know who they are. I may never know who they are. And that's okay. For the many people who have taken their time over the years to write to me and to say, I am sorry, hear me say, I forgive you. For the many people who may never have the courage or may never swallow their pride enough to say, I am sorry, I forgive you nonetheless. But this is not about me. I'm here to speak for that woman. I'm here to speak for that couple that is in the thick of it, to say, let's be kind. Let's be gracious. Let's look out for one another and let's hold space for each other. So let me know where you're at. Let me know how I can hold space for you. Let me know what resonates with you. Let me know what words have been said to you so that we can know what to avoid, what things not to do when you're in that place. One time I shared with you and said that some of the unsolicited advice is not always from a bad place. Sometimes people actually mean well. Your family, many times they mean well. Your friends, when they tell you just need to relax and it will happen, they mean well. But look at it like this. If I am ailing, a part of my body is ailing, what I need to do is to go and see a doctor, and he'll be able to recommend what I need to do about it. Infertility is a part of your body that's ailing, that's broken, that's not functioning as it should. Telling me to relax doesn't fix the problem. Thank you for telling me to relax. I appreciate that. But the thing to actually tell me to do is, have you considered getting help? And because these subjects they've been made to be so taboo and they've been stigmatized so much, we are afraid even of going for help. We're afraid of being seen. I remember going to see the fertility specialist and I didn't want anybody to see me there, because I knew that if people see me in a fertility clinic, it means this. So I know the shame that comes with it, and that's what we want to take away the shame, because it's not your fault that you have fibroids that are in the way, or you have cysts that are in the way, or you have endometriosis, or you have PCOS, or you have unexplained infertility. It's not your fault. So we're going to have these conversations. We're going to get uncomfortable because it's the only way for us to find solutions. So if there's a couple that you know or somebody in your life that you know who you've probably said something that was insensitive to, this is your time to send them a text message, slide into their DM, pick up the phone and call them, tell them, I am sorry. I did not know. Because when we know better, we do better. I have caught myself, even I have found myself, even very recently, where I congratulated somebody because I thought she was pregnant. And I remember because I had to go back and I said, I'm sorry, forgive me. I remember thinking, I am doing the very thing that was done to me. But fine, the intention was good, but it didn't change how hurtful it was. I remember I would put on the slightest of weight, or I'd be bloated because maybe I'm on my period, and I'd put a picture up and it would be, congratulations, oh my gosh, congratulations, congratulations. And I'm like, did I miss something? Are you aware of a pregnancy that I am unaware of? Like, I was not allowed to have the slightest of body changes. And I remember times when I'd have this banter where I'd say, I have a right to have a pot belly as much as you do, which is the truth. All this to say that let us be aware, fully aware of the things that we say, the words that we say, and the impact that they have on one another. So thank you for being a part of Being Kambua as we continue to grow together, as we continue to learn together. Thank you for your feedback, because it is also helping me know how to steer this ship and to keep going, to keep daring into the deep waters as we navigate what this journey looks like. So that for many of us who started off as naive as Kambua started off in her 20s, we're shedding light on these things. And for all of us, remember, when we know better, we do better. So thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
So I did all that before I called my doctor.
Okay.
I didn't feel anything yet. I just had a bad feeling. So I called my doctor. I'm like, yeah, I've done the usual things, and I'm not feeling the baby move. And I can't remember the last time I felt the baby move.
Okay.
So he tells me, okay, come into the office. Let's check. Let's see what's going on. So I go in. I went alone. I went in alone more because it was still COVID time where we were only allowing one person.